Here we're going to solve a second degree equation by completing the square. 3x squared plus 6x plus 5 equals 0. And we're going to do it with our 9 steps. The first step, we're going to isolate the x squared next term in parentheses on the left side equals -5. Step 2, we're going to factor out the coefficient of x squared. Now the coefficient that's multiplying x squared is 3. We had to carefully factor it out of both of the terms that are being added inside the bracket. The next step is we're going to divide both sides by that coefficient 3 to get rid of it. And that gives us x squared plus 2x equals -5 over 3. The reason the 3 disappeared on the left side is because it canceled when we divided by 3. Step 4, we're going to add bracket half the coefficient of the x, not the x squared, and then square it. So it's x squared plus 2x plus bracket 1/2 times 2 bracket squared equals the right side, -5/3 plus 1/2 times 2 bracket squared. Step 5 is where we simplify inside the brackets only. So half of 2 is 1. We get x squared plus 2x plus bracket 1 squared equals -5/3 plus bracket 1 squared. Step 6 is where we simplify the right-hand side. It was -5/3. We change that 1 squared, which is 1, to 3/3. And that becomes, well, now we have a common denominator, so we can do the operation across the top. -5 plus 3 is -2 over the common denominator 3. So what we have here is x squared plus 2x plus bracket 1 squared equals -2/3. Step 7, factor the left side as x plus the stuff of the bracket including the sign squared. So it's x plus 1 squared equals the other side. Step 8, we are going to get rid of the square by taking plus or minus the square root of both sides. When we do it to the left side, it eliminates the square. When we do it to the right side, it's plus or minus the square root of -2/3. The square root of a negative number, but we know what to do. This is plus or minus. Factor out the square root of -1 first and replace it with an I. So we get I times the square root of +2/3. And in step 9 is where we, let's see, what do we do in step 9? We're still simplifying, so we're not ready to do anything yet in step 9. The thing is that we have a radical in the top and a radical in the bottom. That tall square root of 2 over 3 is really the square root of 2 over the square root of 3. That means there's a radical in the denominator. We do not like radicals in the denominator. We get rid of them by multiplying the top and the bottom by the square root in the bottom. So we're going to multiply the top and the bottom of the square root of 2 over the square root of 3. We're going to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 3. So x plus 1 is equal to plus or minus I times the square root of 2 over the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 on the top and the square root of 3 on the bottom. Now doing that is going to get rid of the radical in the bottom, and that's called rationalizing the denominator. That's what they call it. Now what's going to happen on the top, we're multiplying a square root times a square root. That's the square root of 2 times the square root of 3. And the rules say that we can do that multiplication under a single radical sign. It will be the square root of 2 times 3. And on the bottom, we have the square root of 3 times itself. In other words, the square root of 3 squared, which means we're going to cancel the square root symbol. So we have x plus 1 equals plus or minus I times the square root of 6 over the square root of 3 squared. The square and the square root cancel on the bottom. And we get x plus 1 equals plus or minus I times the square root of 6 over 3. Now, I don't see any reason for busting this apart into 2 solutions because it's not going to simplify any further. So we can just write our answer as x equals -1 plus or minus the square root of 6 over 3 times the imaginary number I. The book sometimes will put the I in the front instead of the back, in front of the square root.